California's Supreme Court rejects Republican effort to stop redistricting as legislature seeks vote on plan live. California Democrats' aim is to offset the Republican-drawn gerrymandered Texas map that nets 5 new U.S. House seats for the GOP in 2026. Texas Republicans pass gerrymandered congressional map. California State's Supreme Court rejects a Republican effort to stop mid-decade redistricting. On Wednesday night, the California State Supreme Court declined an emergency request by Republican lawmakers, which sought to block the Democratic plan to temporarily get rid of the maps drawn by a voter-approved independent redistricting commission. Now the California legislature will vote today on 3 bills that would allow for a November special election to redraw the state's congressional boundaries, creating 5 new Democratic House seats in the process. The aim is to offset Texas's gains after Republican lawmakers passed a gerrymandered map that nets 5 new GOP House seats in 2026, an effort that came at Donald Trump's behest and has now escalated into a nationwide redistricting battle. The new Texas map now heads to the state Senate today for approval, where it is sure to advance, before being signed into law by the governor, Greg Abbott. Meanwhile, Democrats have a supermajority at the Sacramento Capitol and will probably pass the new maps. It's important to note that California's proposed legislation has language that stipulates it only goes into effect if Texas's new GOP-drawn map is approved. My colleague Lauren Gambino has been covering the latest and notes that California's redistricting counter-effort, spearheaded by Governor Gavin Newsom, has caused angst among some Democrats and independents who have fought for years to combat gerrymandering. DOJ to probe Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook, urging removal, report. The Justice Department plans to investigate Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook, with a top official informing Fed Chair Jerome Powell of the probe and encouraging him to remove her from the board, Bloomberg News is reporting. Reuters could not immediately verify the report. Yesterday, Donald Trump called for Cook to resign immediately, accusing her of potentially committing mortgage fraud, claims that have not been confirmed, and urging the DOJ to investigate. In response, Cook said yesterday evening that she had no intention of being bullied into stepping down. The president has repeatedly broken with precedent in recent months to demand the Fed cut rates and urge Powell to quit after disregarding such calls. Cook, whose current term on the Fed's board extends until 2038, previously served on the Council of Economic Advisors under Barack Obama. When she took office in May 2022, she became the first Black woman to sit on the central bank's board. Trump's huge civil fraud penalty thrown out by New York appeals court. A New York State appeals court has thrown out an approximately $500 million penalty that Trump had been ordered to pay after a judge found the president fraudulently overstated the value of his properties and other assets to bolster his family business. The decision by a 5-judge panel of the Appellate Division in Manhattan represented a defeat for New York Attorney General Letitia James, whose office brought the civil fraud lawsuit against Trump in 2022. Her case had been among Trump's biggest legal losses in a slew of lawsuits against him in recent years. Lawyers for Trump did not immediately respond to Reuters' requests for comment. James's office did not immediately respond to similar requests. The appeals court was splintered. 2 judges found Trump was properly held liable, and James vindicated a public interest by pursuing her fraud case, but the penalty was an excessive fine that violated the U.S. Constitution. 2 other judges also found James had authority to sue, but a new trial was necessary because the trial judge should not have held Trump liable for fraud at the outset. The 5th judge said the case against Trump should have been dismissed. Trump was appealing a judgment entered by Justice Engoron in a state court in Manhattan, following a 3-month non-jury trial. Engoron found Trump had inflated his wealth over several years before first becoming president in 2017 to dupe lenders and insurers to provide better terms to the Trump Organization. Trump has denied misdoing. His lawyers argued that the penalty was too high and that James had overreached. In February 2024, the judge ordered Trump to pay $454.2 million in penalties plus interest, which has continued to accrue. Trump was personally liable for almost 98% of the judgment, with his eldest sons Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump and former Trump Organization Chief Financial Officer Alan Weisselberg responsible for the remainder. Referring to Trump and other Trump Organization figures, Engoron said their complete lack of contrition and remorse borders on pathological. Engoron also banned Trump and the Trump Organization from applying for loans from banks registered in the state for 3 years, and effectively barred Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump from running the business. The appeals court put these restrictions on hold during the appeals process, while letting a court-appointed monitor for the Trump Organization continue her work.